background, Australian Cybersecurity Centre created the ISM. They created the top 4, spawned from that, Central 8, based off the ISM, 700 controls, way too big for most organisations. So ACSC responds to organisations that have been breached in Australia, anyone that has an economic impact. And so through that response, they've learnt things, they've learnt lessons, what works in the real world, and they've distilled that down to 8 controls.
I mean, E8 is a technical project. We're all techie people, we want to implement tech-related things, but like any project management thing, you have to start at the beginning. E8 implementation is as much a communication, a change management project. So we're changing the way that people authenticate, we're changing the way people use software they've used for years, getting people to buy in, getting the right stakeholders, involving managers, involving leaders, getting them all to be on board with the project before we even begin. Things we've seen from implementing E8 projects are that's the biggest reason they fail is not involving people or involving them too late.
RAP's intended to mitigate the risk posed by administrative users and their highly privileged access to systems, separation of how you administer, where you administer, and the accounts used, sometimes multiple accounts.
The number of accounts that you should have, yes.
So this standard comes from the very much federal government agency, best practice, separate workstations, separate devices to do a single task, and that's ideal.
You can have up to 4 separate accounts, depending on your role. If you're a privileged user, you'll have a standard. You might have a workstation or a local admin. You'll have an unprivileged admin, and then you'll have a privileged admin account. It gets messy, it gets complicated. What's the unprivileged admin account for? Why do I have an unprivileged admin account? Can't I just use my privileged admin account? So yeah, there's a way up between what's the control trying to do, what are we trying to solve, and that's compromise of a standard account doesn't give you a privileged account. So separating your privileged user account from at least your standard. One of the controls is to do all your administrative tasks through jump boxes. Can your external vendors get to your jump box? How does that work? So it can also come to re-architecting your network to be able to give the people that need to do privileged access the ability to do it.
MFA as a control, I think it's really a just do it kind of moment. It might be the most crucial control of E8, and it's the one that should be implemented, or else the other controls almost fall away, in a sense. Complex passwords can definitely be broken. With a lot of phishing, there's all the credential harvesting as well. So with MFA, it's just being mindful of which MFA methods impacts both security and the user experience. You want to be thinking about sign-in frequency certificates. So rather than prompting for MFA every 5 minutes, you're making it so that the user is only logging in once. So I think a lot of the things that we've seen, if you can SSO everything, so you don't have to have multiple MFA codes or logins, like hook it up to Azure, log in once, and then you have everything there. And in saying that, that's something to consider as well when you're buying a product, buy products that can support SSO so that MFA isn't too much of a hurdle.